now before I tack these in place, I first want to make sure that whatever brake disc we use for this jack shaft for the rear tires is going to fit in here. Now, because these are 32-inch tires, I'm a little tempted to use some pretty big brake disc, but actually, if I used a brake disc this big, it would actually stick out past the bottom of the frame like 2 inches or 2.5 inches, and just be vulnerable to rocks and anything hitting this and destroying this. So I don't think we can use any big brake discs on this. So actually, I just pulled this off of the rear tire on the Ninja 650 motorcycle, and this is actually perfect. It's a little bit small for these big tires, but it actually fits perfectly here. It'll clear this piece of tubing, and it'll actually only stick out 1 inch past the bottom of the frame, which I can just easily put a plate under it to protect it. Now, again, it's a little bit smaller than I'd like to use for giant tires like this, but you do have to remember, we do have a mechanical advantage because the gearing between the jack shaft and the tires is 3.2 to 1, so every time the tire spins once, the jack shaft spins 3.2 times, so it should have some decent mechanical advantage, and this brake disc, as long as we use a good caliper, should be able to at least lock up these tires easily. So, let's start working on building the trailing arms for this vehicle. Now, on the CBR 1000, I built them just on the floor, and I just made sure the tires straight up and down, the distance between here and here are the same with both tires, and then just kind of mocked them up here. But for this project, I think it'd be more accurate and a little bit easier to build them if I mocked all this stuff up on that metal table that we have. So, let's measure everything. Let's measure the distance between here and here, here and here, here and here, and then try to mock everything up on the metal table, and then start building the trailing arms. So, let's start out by cutting out the tabs for the rear hubs. Now remember, we do have to be able to rock this thing back and forth to be able to tension the chain. So, check this thing out. So this is actually only the second thing I've ever drawn up on Fusion 360, and I think they turned out pretty amazing. Check that out. So the only thing I couldn't figure out is how to get them a little bit closer together, because I drew this up as one piece and then extruded it as 2 separate pieces, but I couldn't figure out how to get them a little bit closer together so I'm not wasting so much material in between them. I could have flipped this part and then had it rest inside of this part, so therefore I was wasting a lot less material, but I couldn't figure out how to move it once I extruded it. But yeah, I think that turned out pretty awesome. And then once you draw one of these up, you can cut out pretty much as many as you want. So that ArcDroid plasma cutter is definitely an amazing machine. Again, I'll be putting links in the description below for that thing. Definitely go check it out. It makes cutting really complicated tabs like this, it makes it so much faster and so much easier. let me tack this in place, and then I'm considering redoing this tubing. So I don't like how close this tubing is right here. This is only like 3 inches, and I feel like if we left it like this, I could just, you know, triangulate the crap out of this right here, but I feel like it would still kind of be a weak, I don't know. I feel like if I just move this further out an inch, it would make it a little bit stronger. I just don't want these big tires, you know, twisting this while we're drifting a corner. So I'm actually going to put this piece of plate on this side of this piece of plate, so therefore we can attach it the way this is attached, and just move it out like an inch or inch and a quarter. We can't go too much because we do have to clear the sprocket, but I feel like moving it out just a little bit more is going to make this a lot stronger. So they gained us an extra 3/4 of an inch further apart. So it's a bit tricky because we're trying to clear the tire, we're trying to clear the chain. That's why it's really narrow in here. But I think it'll be strong enough once we gusset this and triangulate. I'll be adding more tubing, you know, going from here to here, here to here, all that kind of stuff all throughout here to strengthen this, keep it from twisting and bending and all that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be strong enough. Now, let's add the 4th piece of tubing that goes from here to here, basically the same piece as this, just on the bottom. Once we add that, I want to add all the bracing that we're going to do. I want to add it later. I don't want to do it now. So, but we do need to add some, so therefore once we take it off the jig, this thing doesn't twist or move around or anything. So let's add a bit of bracing in here, and then maybe some in here, and then we can take it off the jig, and I can start making the second one. Now, I was considering making these longer than the ones on the CBR 1000 project, but this project is already long enough. I don't want to make this thing a limousine. So, but I did make them 2 inches longer than the ones on the CBR 1000 project, which makes this 32 inches from the jack shaft to the axle for the rear tires, which should give us, this should give us plenty of suspension travel, plenty of clearance for the tires and everything. But I could have done it a little bit longer, but I don't know. This thing is already pretty long. This thing's over 11 feet from the outside of the tire to the outside of the tire long. So let's keep it at that. Now let's add one more piece of tubing. Let's add the tube that has where the shock mounts to. Now on the CBR 1000 project it is roughly 18.5 inches from the jack shaft to that piece of tubing. So let's add it in the same place. Therefore I can calculate the same type of suspension and everything. So Once we add that, then we can kind of call these done for now. We'll add all the other cross bracing later on. I kind of don't feel like doing it right now. And I want to start working on the second one of these. So, all I gotta do now is just copy this, except have it on this side. Shouldn't be too hard, because now all this stuff is a known dimension, and all I gotta do is copy it. So, shouldn't be too hard. And just like that, the second one is finished. Now, let's put this stuff on the frame, see what it looks like. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see if my calculations were correct, and let's see if this thing is as wide as I wanted it to be. So I was aiming for 68, and it is roughly 68 and a half. That is close enough. Yeah, this thing's starting to look like something. Little bit of a close fit between the tire and the swing arm, or the trailing arm. There's about 1 inch of gap between here and here, and also about like 1/2 inch gap between this and the sprocket. So we're definitely gonna have to add some type of chain roller, or not roller, but it's like a chain slide or a guide, or the little plastic strip where the chain rides against. We're definitely gonna have to add this to here, otherwise the chain is just gonna be rubbing up against that. Also, are these equally spaced apart from the center? So 18 3/4 and 18 7/8. Close enough. Perfect timing. The seats that I ordered for this thing got here yesterday. I'm hoping these are at least mostly water resistant. Oh, it also came with these. So I'm hoping I got some good ones. These weren't the cheapest, but they also definitely weren't the most expensive. Kind of went, I found some. Ooh. Yeah, the material feels like it can get wet and not retain water, so that's good. Ooh. These actually may be nicer than the ones that I have, than the one that I have in the CBR 1000. Also, it has an adjustable. Ah, that is cool. That is cool. Ooh. I'm not sure how far we're gonna be able to lean these things back. This frame is gonna be a little cramped, but it's nice to have the. Yeah, I think this was a good purchase. These definitely look really nice. Now, I also bought some seat sliders for these. These are only like 35 bucks or something, and I think it'd be cool to be able to move the seat back and forth. So, but I didn't know that the seats I bought also comes with them. But these just feel really cheap. It's got this weird arm that moves sideways to get it to unlock, and these don't really move that freely. Kind of bind up a little bit, and I don't know. These just feel kind of cheaply built. These ones have this whole lever thing that goes in the front of the seat, so I think these are a lot better. These actually have ball bearings built into them instead of that just has plastic, you know, bushings. So let's definitely use these. There it is. And like how I do every seat on a vehicle, I like leaning it back a little bit. So I'm gonna have the back ones go on the bottom of that metal bar. Is that leaning back enough? Not really. So I cut these a lot longer so I can, you know, fine tune and adjust where I want these things. These things are dirty already. Oh man. Okay, that looks awesome. Let's hold my weight if I sit on it. Okay. So this is roughly where the chain's gonna be. I can lower it a little bit, but it's gonna be roughly in the middle. I'm trying to figure out, you know, is there enough elbow room between the driver and passenger? Also, is there enough room for both shifters? The motorcycle shifter, which is going to be a slap shifter, and then the secondary transmission, which is an H pattern. Is there enough room for those? And we may also be putting a handbrake on here. Now, I think all that's going to have to go in the middle. I'm not sure if there's going to be enough room for any of that in here. And I always like having the motorcycle shifter on this side. So, and I'm not sure if we can put an H pattern on this side. I think it's going to be a little bit too close to the frame. So. Yeah, I think this is good. There's plenty of room. I'm not going to be elbowing the passenger every time I have to shift this thing. Enough room for the chain. I think it's good. Let's tack it in place. Yeah, I think these seats are perfect. I think this is the first project I've built with fully adjustable seats. So that's cool. Now that the seats are installed, now we can start working on building the rest of the frame, figuring out where the side rails are gonna. I am still pondering if I want to add doors to this. If I added doors, it would be a lot easier to get in and out. But if I did add them, it would completely change how I'm planning on building this frame. But the way I'm planning on building it, it's going to be really hard to get in and out of this thing because I'm adding a side rail that's going to go right here, and then the roof is going to be up to here, and then there's, you know, another tubing here, more tubing here. So we're only going to have like this little tiny space to, but basically the size of a window to get in and out of this thing, and it would make it a lot easier if I added doors, but it would make it a lot harder to build this thing if I did add. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I think for now, I'm going to start building it without doors, and if it's, you know, once we get most of this stuff tacked into place, and then I figure out, okay, it's going to be really hard to get in and out of this thing, I can always add doors. That's the benefit of building a frame and just tacking everything into place. It's easier to change stuff, move stuff around if you just tack everything in place and then fully weld it once it's done. But yeah, this thing is slowly taking shape, slowly starting to look like something. So anyway, we're going to start working on that stuff in the next video of this project, but for now, I gotta end this video here. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video.